Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Bald Explorer Live. I'm Richard Vobes, the man who goes around with his hand holding a little gimbal, pointing it at himself, and wandering around the streets of England, wondering where the hell he is, and making little walking videos. And then in the evening, when everybody else is sitting down to relax and take it easy, I'm the one who's out there making these live videos. Spouting loads of nonsense in a frivolous show we call the Bald Explorer Live. It's sort of a community get-together where we all gather around our little crystal sets and say, "Here, what you up to today?" That's what we do. So let's see who's out there, if anybody's out there, joining us live as we record this. If you're watching on YouTube, then you happen to be watching a rerun. You may be watching the rerun, of course, on Facebook. So, you know, you may not be live. We normally do this live Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. British summer time, I should say. British summer time at the moment. And then when it gets into British winter time, you need your overcoats and keep nice and warm. After all, you can't go out much in the evening. We will be going out live and doing the shows in outside environments very soon. It's nearly light enough at 8 o'clock in the evenings to do that, but it's not quite light enough. I think we've got to wait about another couple of weeks or so, and then we've got to plan some places. But not to worry, all going to be great fun. So, let's have a look and see if there's anybody actually out there and joining us. And yes, we can see Claire Leach is there, Neil Nigus is there, Graham Whittington, Andy Ash, Elaine Brazier, Brendan Potts, Mark Selwood, Russell McDonald Bell. Ding dong! Nice to see you, Russell McDonald. All there. Good evening, Mr. Richard. Welcome back, says Neil. That's very kind of you. Hello, one and all. Nice to see everybody joining us. We're back in the Worthing studio here at the back of my house. Used to do this in a beach hut down by the seafront, but unfortunately the council discovered that I had the electricity plugged into the street lights, and they weren't very happy about that, so they frog-marched me and said, if you're going to do a show, you've got to do it from your own room, where you're paying for the electricity fair and square. So this is where I am, in my little back room, in my two-house terraced in the Edwardian seaside town that we call Worthing by the Sea. And it's very nice and very pleasant here, and it's nice to be back all the way from Glastonbury. Not Bury, Bury, as the lovely Julia told me. It's Bury, not berry, as in, you know, strawberry. Anyway, it's nice to see you. Claire Leach says, I've had my nose cauterised, so I'm in a bit of pain, and my nose is constantly running, so please feel sorry for me. I'm so sorry, Claire. I'm so sorry, Claire, that your nose is being cauterised. How do they cauterise it? Do they chop it into 4, and then what do they do with the pieces? Do they put them on a quadrangle, and one at each corner, and then you could play a sort of nosy chess? That could be quite funny. Better not make you laugh too loudly, because you may snort rather a lot, and that would be no good. What happens to the bogies, Claire? That's what I would like to know, when they're cauterising it into 4 separate pieces. Don't know about that, do you? Anyway, Cynthia Walder and Neil Gardner have also joined. Very nice to see you. One of these days I shall get some big cheers, but in the meantime, get some big chairs, and you can sit down, put your feet up, and relapse. Apparently the weather now in Sussex is not as good as it has been, and it's going to be pretty miserable tomorrow. I actually was going to go out filming tomorrow. I was going to go filming with the lovely Cynthia Julian, but unfortunately it's been cancelled because the weather, there's no point going out in the pouring rain and getting cold and miserable and looking like a pair of lemons in a fig tree. Not that I know what lemons in a fig tree actually look like, but I can imagine, because I do have an imagination. I see that the lovely Julia is there, sort of being very sorry for poor old Claire, and I don't blame you. And Alan Pennington is there. "Do you stopped," he said. I don't know quite what he means by I stopped. I haven't stopped deliberately. I am here. Richard Suggett has arrived. He says, "Feel sorry for you, Claire, but I simply hide too much." What? Hide too much as both... I simply hide too much. I don't understand what he's saying, but anyway, Richard Suggett, by the way, is the what would you call it? The proprietor of the Veg Grower podcast, and you can check him out at veggrowerpodcast.com, I think. And he's going to be back on the show, and we're going to be cooking a concoction of goodness knows what that he's dug up from his garden. Not worms, not slugs, not snails, nothing nasty, not puppy dogs' tails, because obviously the RSPCA would be after us if we did anything like that. But he's going to come on, and we're going to get the old primer stove out, and we're going to make... I can't remember what he said we're going to make. Maybe it was some Scotch broth. I can't remember. But anyway, whatever it was, he's going to be coming fairly soon. And somebody who's coming next Wednesday, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, next Wednesday we have Dump Man, alias Chris Bedford, who's going to be coming on and telling us about his adventures in Kent, where he's been running around the countryside in the footsteps, or in the, I suppose, the puff. What do you call it? The puff steps? No, the on the rails. He's been on the rails or off the rails, depending on how you look at it, at the disused railways of Kent. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be fantastic. So we've got lots of exciting things lined up. And, ladies and gentlemen, if that's not enough, I shall be in Cambridgeshire, ladies and gentlemen, next week for 3 days with the lovely Simon Brown. He's got some exciting things lined up for us. I shall tell you about that a little bit later in the show. I should also mention that we now have in the group 604 members in there, which is fantastic. Seeing as we started with one, which obviously was me, closely followed by somebody else, and then someone else after that, we now have 604 of the crazy people who enjoy the sort of weird things that we get up to. So I'm very thrilled about that. And if you're the latest member, if you have 604 tattooed on your bottom, then you are very welcome, and it's lovely to see you, and thank you. Do take it easy as you sit down, because it's quite sore when you have that branding thing. Excuse me, nearly died then. The BE number scorer brander, which is in red hot poker in the iron, and you come into the group, you bend over, we shove it onto your big fat fleshy bottom. There's a little bit of a sizzle, a horrible, rather nasty sort of human burning smell, and then you are a member of the Bald Explorer group for life. If you're not a member of the Bald Explorer group and you're looking at this slightly dazed and thinking, what the hell is he on about? Get yourself over to Facebook, get yourself over to the Bald Explorer page, and get yourself onto the button that says Bald Explorer Group. And you too can have a grope in the dark around the Bald Explorer little place. People are posting all sorts of things, and we're going to have a look at some of the things that have been going on whilst the lovely Julia and I have been gallivanting in Glastonbury. Now, we've been gallivanting in Glastonbury at the behest, I should say, at the behest of the lovely viewers. Well, actually, we asked the lovely viewers if they would support our new thing this year called the Mini Adventure. And our mini adventure was not to drive in a Mini and not actually to do the Italian job, but to go to the mystic west of Somerset and nip down to Glastonbury, which is what we did. Now, we did one live show there. We couldn't do any more live shows there for technical reasons, i.e. one was that we were at a lovely Indian restaurant having some poppadoms and various nice things. Oh, and on that, I should tell you, I think the lovely Julia had the last laugh on the Bald Explorer, because she said, oh, this is a lovely restaurant, we'll go in here. And we went in this restaurant, and we were sitting there, and we had this beautiful meal. They come, you know how they come. They're very, 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 always very smart and very attentive in these Indian restaurants. They're very lovely people. And this was Julia's treat, which is, I'd have to say, thank you very much, Julia. I can't remember now if I actually thanked you for this wonderful meal. But anyway, thank you very much for the wonderful meal. But we sat down, and there we were, sort of, it was all very posh. And then other people started to come in, and we started to think, hello, we're a bit underdressed. We look a bit, because we were a bit scruffy. We'd been all day walking around Glastonbury up on the tour, looking at Gog and Magog and all sorts of things like that. Gog and Magog! Gog and Magog! I hope if you've been to the group and you've started to learn the new ritual that we do, the Gog and Magog! Gog and Magog! It's all very exciting. Anyway, we'd been doing all of that, so we were a little bit underdressed, and we were sort of a bit flaky and a bit tired and a bit, sort of looking at each other going, oh, have I got to put up with you yet again? You know when you're working with someone and you just think, there must be somebody else in this world I could be working with. Surely. No, of course not. We had great fun working together. It was marvellous. But we were tired. And we got to this Indian restaurant, and I forget what the lovely Julia ordered. She ordered this red dish. I can't remember what it was called now. Killer something masala or something. And then I had a Mexican chili, a chicken Mexican chili. And I can tell you, it was delicious. It was delicious. We'd had some pretty ropey meals, the lovely Julia and I, in Glastonbury, I have to say. Up until that point, we just had been a bit unlucky. I think maybe because it was out of season, there wasn't enough tourists, and maybe, you know, people were a bit sort of, oh, we've got to open the doors and let this bald bloke in and this lovely young lady with the purple hair. And maybe, I don't know, we just caught people on an off day. But whatever it was, we hadn't had brilliant meals until we got into this wonderful restaurant, and there they were, presented to us, these fantastic, superb, absolutely transmental Cooperistic meals that we were enjoying. And on mine, it was... Now, I like a hot chilli, ladies and gentlemen. I do like a hot chilli. I'm quite partial to a hot chilli. I mean, nothing stupid, you know, nothing absolutely ridiculous, but I do like a nice hot chilli. And this was this lovely chicken in this beautiful sort of sauce, and then we had some rice on the side. We had the poppadoms. We had all the little dips and bits and pieces. We had some drinks as well. Not alcoholic drinks, but just non-alcoholic drinks. I think I had sparkling water. It's funny because the waiter came up to me and he said, would you like some water? And I said, yeah, that would be lovely. He said, would you like still or sparkling? And I said, I'd like some that's still sparkling, please. Thank you. Ask a stupid question. Anyway, so up came the dishes, and I was enjoying it. It was absolutely lovely, and it wasn't too spicy. It was just perfect, and they'd garnished it with a couple of little chilies on the side, you see, a couple of little a red chili and a green chili. Now, I know green chilies are pretty hot, and red chilies are not as hot as the green chilies on the whole, and I thought, I'll just have this because it's not too hot, you know, and I've had these little chilies like this. So I chopped the chili. It was about that big. I chopped the chili, the end off the chili, you know, the sort of end that's got the big tree attached to it. Chopped that bit off, and then I just stuck the whole thing in my mouth. Yeah, you're already one step ahead, aren't you? That's the thing. You're already one step ahead. I thought, that's not bad, is it? Oh, that's quite hot, actually. That's a little bit hotter than the chili that I've got on the plate. Actually, that is right. No. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, that was the hottest chili I have ever experienced. And, of course, the lovely Julia, who I was hoping would be absolutely petrified and worried and concerned for her compatriot, her working buddy, the bloke who had brought her there, that she would have some compassion as I was exploding and going red as a beetroot. But no, she sat there and started to take photographs of me in various positions of contortion as I was downing everything. I grabbed hold of one of the yoghurt dips and I was sloshing that like nobody's... gargling, ladies and gentlemen. I was gargling with the yoghurt dip like that, trying to get rid... My tongue was on fire. It was so blazing hot with pain and anguish. It was driving me mad. I was drinking the water, because that's the worst thing you can do, because you could see the steam. It was sizzling, like that, sizzling off. It was a nightmare. So then I was, I can't remember what else. I was shoving, got the poppadoms and laid the poppadoms on my tongue, like that, to try and absorb and pull out the sting of the chili. It was a nightmare. It was, and it went on for about 15 to 20 minutes. And the poor girl opposite me was on the floor, cackling and laughing like some demented, I don't know. And she thought it was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Yeah, it was really hot. Anyway, I managed to survive that. And then the lovely Julia, she sort of beckoned to me like this. She beckoned to me, and I thought, my luck's in now. I've got a bit of sympathy here. She's going to be extra nice to me. And she was beckoning me, and I got closer and closer like this. And she said, no, come a bit closer. And I was getting closer and closer like that. And she said, hey. And I said, yeah. She said, hey. And I said, yeah. She said, look. And I said, what? She said, you haven't eaten the other chili yet, have you? I said, I'm not eating that chili, thank you very much. God, I nearly burnt me blooming head off. No, thanks. Anyway, the rest of the meal was absolutely delicious, and blimey, we were quite stuffed after that, and we rolled back to the little Burcombe Mill, by the way, is where we stay. Beautiful, beautiful Burcombe Mill was lovely. I have to say, I don't know whether they're watching, Steve and Louise, who run Burcombe Mill, just outside Wells near Wookey Hole. Absolutely lovely couple, very nice people. Steve actually is a miller now. It's a water mill, you see. A great big water mill like this, maybe a bit bigger than that actually, probably that big maybe. And they grind their own flour. So they do a lot of grinding there, and they mill their own flour. Is it grind, mill, whatever the difference is, and then they make their own bread as well. And they flog the flour and they flog the homemade bread, and of course they serve the homemade bread up on the breakfast table when you have your bed and breakfast. And it's delicious, absolutely delicious. Lovely couple, and the food was lovely in the morning. I had a full English breakfast with the lovely poached egg, some lovely rashers of bacon, some delicious mushrooms. I was trying to spoon feed the mushrooms to the lovely Julia, but she's not keen on mushrooms. I think she thinks they taste like slugs. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. So we had some smashing breakfast, lovely fresh orange juice and cups of tea and all that kind of malarkey. It was lovely. So nice word. So I recommend if you want somewhere to stay, the rooms were absolute. My bed, very comfortable. I slept like a log when I got to sleep, because the lovely Julia, you know, she's a bit of a night owl, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't realise quite how much of a night owl she is, although, actually, put it another way, I didn't realise how much of an early to bed person I was, because by 10 o'clock I was going like this. And she was, talking away, because she's always full of energy, the lovely Julia. She's so lovely. She's so full of lovely energy. And by that point, of course, I'm a little bit older than her by a couple of years, and I'm sort of like feeling a bit weary and weary, not wary. And I was like nodding off like this, and she's sort of going, "Oh, come on, Richard, let's go for a little stroll around the village and let's do a little bit of this." I was going, "Oh, do you know, I need to go to bed." Anyway, got into my bed. Very comfy, very lovely, dozed off as much as I could, and the next thing you know, the alarm is ringing. Not the fire alarm, but the bed alarm. Not a bed alarm. I mean, not the burglar alarm, the waking up alarm on one's phone, saying, "Get up, you've got to load up the show." Well, we had a few technical issues with the internet on the first day, but after that it was pretty all right. But we're still pretty knackered from the driving and this, that and the other. Anyway, the main thing is we had a lovely time in Glastonbury and it was all good. Now, so that was that. I don't quite know where I was going. Now, unfortunately, as yet, have not had a chance to edit any of the footage because I was out again today, out filming for more content, which will be appearing next week. The Glastonbury stuff will probably appear a week after next, because I've got to get all my I've got to get my sort of recollections together and get the whole thing sorted out. So the Glastonbury, we'll have a week of Glastonbury content, including some of the footage of the miller at the Burcombe Mill milling his flour. So that they don't grow the grains, the corn. They don't actually grow. I guess they pick up the grain from somewhere. Goodness knows where they get it from. But anyway, they get it. And so I filmed some of that and cobbled something. It was a bit tricky because he was behind a cage for health and safety, and all the wheels were going round and the pulley systems and all that. But it was lovely to watch. So filmed a little bit of that, and we'll put something together. As well as the trips. Now, if you've been following the pictures in the Bald Explorer group, you will see that we went up to the tour. We did our Gog-a-magog! Gog-a-magog! We did our Gog-a-magog ritual, which, of course, we'd been practising in the car for the best part of the journey there, which was very essential that we did that. We did actually go and visit Gog and Magog, which are two of these ancient oak trees that used to be an avenue for the druids to march up to the Tor and do whatever druids do. Still didn't really find out what the druids did, to be honest with you. But it was lovely. And then we went round Glastonbury Abbey. Had a lovely time round Glastonbury Abbey, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Had a lovely time. But the thing about the Glastonbury Abbey, we met this bloke. And, I don't know, Julia, if you can remember his name. I can't remember. Somebody, was it Tim? Somebody or other? What was his name, Julia? See if you can type it in the thing and I'll try and catch it when it flies by. He was a poet. and a writer. He'd written various books, and he'd written poem books and stuff, and he did a lot of recitals. It was a very lovely character, and I wanted to whip out my microphone and record him because he had this beautiful Somerset burr, but he was a bit, he was a bit potty. He was not too much. You might be watching for all I know, although I don't think he really gets on with the internet, to be honest with you. He does everything in sort of the old-fashioned way, but he was a lovely bloke. He was dressed as what was he? He was sort of dressed as a road worker, which was a bit odd. But apparently he'd been going off to see some silversmith to do some silversmith lessons, which was interesting. Dave the Teach Loxton. There we go. Dave the Teach Loxton. Thank you, Julia. That was absolutely marvellous. See, she is my right-hand woman. She's on hand anytime, night and day, with all the answers, which is lovely. So at least she's got a better memory than I have. But yeah, we did take a picture of him. I took a picture of him, and what I should have done is had it prepared. But of course, as ever, unprepared today, so apologies for that. But he was a lovely bloke with this wonderful burr, but he kind of latched himself onto us. I did feel that he perhaps was somebody who'd waffled on a bit, and people eventually started to sort of avoid, really, because he kept bumping into us and telling us these little stories of this, that and the other, and I wasn't quite sure whether I really believed everything he said, but he was a lovely character. And Glastonbury itself was full of lots of different characters. The funny thing was, though, that because they all thought that Julia actually was a local, they could see that I was a complete nutter visitor, which was a little bit upsetting because I noticed the eye contact. They were all eye contacting and sort of talking to Julia, and she was doing marvellously, and I was just I was like the tourist who just happened to be passing by. Very interesting bit of psychological observation there. But anyway, on the whole, we had a fantastic time. It was a very interesting place. Took a little bit of time for me to get into the vibe, but certainly loved going round some of the things. We went to the Chalice Well. We recorded a podcast. If you're a patron of the Vobes, you will have got that podcast. If you're a patron and support the Vobes financially, we've given a couple of extra podcasts to you because you've helped support the show. I should say that you can become a patron. I got some information here about it. You can become a patron of the Bald Explorer and help the Bald Explorer make these things. It did cost a little bit more than I'd anticipated. I hadn't quite got the budget right for the 3 days that we were there. So if you go to baldexplorer.com/support, you can help the Bald Explorer do more of these sort of things by perhaps donating a little bit, like, a couple of quid a month. It's really, really not very much. There's 600 and something odd people in the group, and if each one of you donated a little bit just to help towards the daily walks and the live shows and all of that, we could do more, because it does obviously cost a little bit of money. It's not just the petrol. Of course, you've got to sustain yourself whilst you're out there. Going into the Abbey, for example, was £15 just to go in. Well worth it, though. Well worth it. It was beautiful, beautiful Abbey. We actually went in twice, but we didn't pay twice. We went in the first time we went in to film, and the weather was against us. It started to rain. It was real fine, drizzly stuff, and I could see that on the camera the rain was smearing across the lens, and that was no good at all. No good, ladies and gentlemen. And I thought, that's a shame. Everything looked dreary, and I thought, well, it's a shame, because I don't want to show Glastonbury looking dreary, because it'll be on the internet for as long as the internet survives. And I figured the best thing would be is to come back perhaps another day. So we went up to the desk and said, look, we've come to take some video and stuff and have a look round. It is a bit miserable. Can we come back the next day? We don't mind the fact that we paid. We just don't want to pay twice. And they said, yeah, no, that's no. They were very accommodating, actually. They were very nice. And in fact, the day we returned, there was a sort of security bloke on the door. He was a delightful chap. He was full of beans, he was. So we stayed downwind of him, obviously, but otherwise he was absolutely lovely. So I'd recommend going in there. I know it was a bit pricey, £7.50 per person, per adult, but it was very beautiful building and a colossal size. It really sort of blew your mind away. So we had a lovely time in there. But of course, all these things do cost a little bit, and I hadn't really budgeted to anything. We went into the Chalice Well, which was this beautiful gardens. I think in May time would be a better time to go than when we go, because the although it was very nice, I have to say, but the flowers would be a bit more out and about. But you don't really go for the flowers. You're going there for the sacred well and the sacred water that goes through. We recorded a podcast, and it was very nice actually. It was a lovely experience, I have to say. And the lovely Julia, of course, we had some bottles, and she filled up the bottles with the special red water. It's called the red water, and just across the way you could get white water. And there's a little explanation on each of those, but I won't go into that at the moment. But anyway, it's natural spring water and very sacred and full of, supposedly healing properties. So actually, I didn't drink too much of it, which is actually why I probably got a bit of a headache today. But there we are, not to worry. It's not your problem, is it? No, of course it's not. Of course it's not. Anyway, we had a lovely time. Let's have a look and see what you're gabbling on about out there. Andy Ash is saying that it is a whole church, not just a tower. It was a whole church, not just a tower. What, on the top of the... Are you talking about on the top of the Tor? Burr Tor, by the way. It's called Burr Tor. That's blood. Says... it's not really blood. It's not really... It's rust, if anything. It's from the iron, you see. It's rust. It's not really blood. It's just, because of the colour, they call it blood. It's not really blood, nothing like that. If you mix, do you get pink water? Well, what was interesting, there was a channel where the water was going through the Chalice Well garden, and where the deposits of the iron had settled onto the surface of the bottom surface of the pebbles below, it had gone a sort of reddy colour, and you could actually dip your finger in and make words on the settled iron oxide, I suppose it is, as somebody had actually done. And I guess if you'd mixed it all up, you could have... Oops-a-daisy, sorry about that. You could have got a little bit of pink stuff. Not pink grapefruit juice or anything like that. It wasn't that. But we did have a taste of the water. We drank the water. We woke up in hospital about 3 days later, but no, it didn't really. It was very nice. It was all good. So, yeah. Anyway, Julia's got the water. She's probably been knocking it back all day. She's probably, got even more radiance out of it. But there we are. So that was it. Ever tried the water from the spring at Tunbridge Wells, says Steve Pilfold. Well, actually, it's funny because I asked Julia whether it was a calibrate spring. And because Tunbridge Wells, it's a calibrate spring. And it has a lot of iron. But actually, the Tunbridge Wells water, which I have tried... and made a video about, if you check out on YouTube for the Bald Explorer, Tasting the Waters, I think the episode is called. It's a full-length episode of the Bald Explorer, about 44 minutes or 50 minutes or something, where I go off to explore about how Lord North discovered the spring water in Tunbridge Wells back in, whenever it was, something like 13-something. And he was travelling wearily, and he wanted to taste the water, and he believed that this water had healing properties, and as a consequence. But that water, I can tell you, had a much higher iron content at Tunbridge Wells, because it really tasted as if if you have a bleeding gum, and you go, oh, I can taste blood. It has that sort of blood taste. Well, that's the same taste as the Tunbridge Wells water. It tastes like blood because the iron gives you that. It's the iron content in the blood, I suppose, it gives you that taste. I'm not sure. But anyway, we taste that. The water at Glastonbury at the Chalice Well wasn't as strong tasting as the other, and not as pink. The water at Tunbridge Wells is a bit more pink. But there's probably other minerals in there as well. So it's not just that, obviously. I have seen it in the list but not watched it yet. It's a long old film, so or program, but it's very nicely shot, I have to say. Thank you very much, and very well written and very well presented. There's some sort of bald bloke there in glasses. He gets in the way quite a bit, but otherwise it's very nice with a few interviews with interesting people. So I would check that out. Anyway, so that was our trip. On the way back, ladies and gentlemen, on the way back from Tunbridge Wells, we just had time to go... Not Tunbridge Wells, what am I talking about? On the way back from Glastonbury, we had time to stop at Wells. the smallest, I think it's the smallest city in England, Wells. And we walked through round the old original walls with the gates, the 4 gates. I think there were 4 gates. Sprackensea gates could have been. The gates round the city. We walked and we crossed it in about 6 minutes. That's how small the original city with the cathedral. And the cathedral, I have to say, was absolutely stunning. The sun came out, it lit it up, it was beautiful. Julia was gobsmacked, but I shouldn't have hit her, really. It was a bit of an annoying thing for me to do. I do apologise. No, she was the awe and splendour. And then we walked up what looked like almshouses, but I later realised these were houses for the canons. Now, I'm not talking about, iron cannons that fire balls. I'm talking about the monks, the canon monks, and they were these beautiful, they looked like almshouses. They were all sort of terrace with these great big chimneys, big stone things. And I believe the choir, and what they do in some of these things is they have this perpetual choir, this constant choiry noise. So presumably they needed quite a few of those. Anyway, don't really understand it. Russell MacDonald Bell reminds me that Hot Fuzz, the film with Simon Pegg and the other bloke whose name I always forget, was filmed in Wells, a lovely place. It's one of Steve Pilford's favourite films. So there you go. If you've seen that film, that's where it was filmed. Also, that famous little sort of minute documentary series. I don't know if you've seen it, the Bald Explorer. He did a quick walk in. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, so we managed to do that, and then we got back late last night, so we couldn't do a live show then, which was a bit of a shame, but there you go, that's how it goes. So that was Glastonbury, and the footage and stuff will be coming fairly soon, so probably the week after next. So watch out for that. Do check out all the lovely pictures. There's loads of lovely pictures and a few little silly videos up there that we put. My thanks to the lovely Julia, of course, for taking. She did most of the photography because I was sort of doing the moving stuff, and she was really responsible for that and posting them up. So actually, on that note, I should say that when you often see Julia particularly liking lots of stuff, and I haven't liked it, it's because she's sort of doing, she's liking it on her own behalf, of course, but she's also helping by because I can't do it because there's so much. I'm trying to edit the stuff and trying to do other things, and I'm out and about and all of this. So sometimes it's very tricky for me to know exactly what's going on. But you guys have been very busy, and that's quite interesting. Whilst we were away, nobody was sitting on their laurels twiddling their thumbs thinking, well, they're away, what should we do? You were busy posting stuff in the old group, and that's fantastic. So let's have a little look in the group and see what you guys have been up to. So in the gallery to start with, we're going up north. Yes, up north, ladies and gentlemen. We like to go up north because this is Robert Cross's country in the Dales. He's been up in the Dales taking photographs of ancient churches while we were away. There's a lovely, beautiful example of an ancient church. Not quite sure where that particular one is, but it looks like it's got some sort of red sandstone. It's very reminiscent, I notice, of the Western Zoyland Church down on the Somerset levels, not too far away from where we were, in actual fact, at Glastonbury. But I don't think that is because it's up north, but you can see the daffodils are still out and about in that one, which makes that quite interesting. Richard Suggett has been to Winchester, and Winchester's a lovely place. He's there at the City Museum taking lots of pictures of Winchester, so do check those out. Looks like a bit of a drab day, unfortunately, for Richard, but that won't put him off because there's some lovely statues and lovely scenery and lots of interesting places in Winchester, which of course was at one time the capital of England back in the early English days, or the late Saxon days under King Alfred. Now over here, the bluebells, ladies and gentlemen, they are out in force. Thanks to Pam Earnshaw, who's been around Angering in the woods there. Although actually these photographs were taken 14 years ago. But I dare say if you go out there today, you'll see something very similar, which is very nice. Matthew Holdsworth has been taking photographs in Reigate, where he lives, in anticipation for the Vobes One-Eye Kenobi to go up. Well, I did go up today, and I'll tell you about that in a short while. So that's what Matthew's been doing. In the meantime, here in Petworth, Linda Kane was inspired by the fact that the lovely Julia and I were going to see Gog and Magog, and she points out, using, I think this is a bit of a cheeky photograph thanks to Google Street View, which explains why it's a bit blurred, that Gog and Magog, the two statues on the original entrance to Petworth House up there, are featured on the top of those two pillars that you can see. And she says, and I didn't know this, that they each have one eye. I was unaware of that. Are they? So presumably then that makes them cyclopses. So that's always curious. Elizabeth Brazier has been sitting in a wonderful mill. I must get to sit in a mill. This one is Stelling Minnis Windmill in Kent. And it looks like a very nice day. And so she's been out and about taking pictures of windmills, which is lovely to see. Thanks very much for that, Elaine. What else have we got? Ed Warren has been is taking photographs of his first frog. He's got some nature going on in his pond, and he says, I think he says it's the first frog he's managed to. I don't know whether he's grown this frog from frog spawn. Which always used to look like rice pudding to me in the old days when I was at school. But anyway, there we are. We won't go into that. So that looks very nice. Meanwhile, Dave Baker's been in Midhurst photographing trees. I couldn't get the whole tree into the shot, I'm afraid. But I don't know what tree that is. It looks like a beech tree. Possibly. Who knows? You never know. But anyway, that's what it is. This was very nice. I like this beautiful rural setting. Cynthia Waldron has been on a walk in Graffham. Now, I used to live in Petworth, and Graffham is just down the road. I don't remember seeing it looking quite so nice as that, actually. That's a beautiful, lovely old stone house with some wonderful windows. It's very, very charming. So thanks for sharing those photographs. Meanwhile, Brendan Potts has been complaining about the rain and the weather where he lives. Now, I can't seem to remember. You're in Seaford, aren't you? I think you're in Seaford, if my memory serves me correct. Looks like there's an aeroplane or a little bird going across there. But you've certainly got some grim skies. He'd been out for an interview, I think, at, what is it called? It's just gone straight out of my head. The agricultural college at Plumpton Green. There we go. It came back. So he's been over there having an interview. And finally, Alan Piddington has been photographing interesting clouds. And why not? Looks like the result of a puffing train has been going on the horizon. And there's some puffing clouds. So it all goes on in the group. These are just a few examples of what goes on in the group. I apologise that I cannot send your pictures back or return them by first-class post, mainly because they're digital, so that would be daft. But anyway, there we are. If you fancy sending in some of your photographs, just join the group. There's always one of our admins on hand who will let you in. Don't forget you'll get your bottom branded, of course, and it would be absolutely lovely to see you. And you can post your pictures, you can comment on the pictures, you can like the pictures, you can set up different topics, you can put a poll in and all that sort of stuff, which is really great. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I need to remind you, this Saturday is the Meetup, the Great Bald Explorer Meetup, where supporters of the Bald Explorer, or fans of the Bald Explorer site, is going to meet up at the Castle Inn, or the Castle Hotel, I forget what it's called, but it'll be pretty obvious. There's either the Tollgate or there's the Castle Inn, whichever one it is. It's the one with the castle written in its name, at Bramber in West Sussex on Saturday at midday. And the idea is that we're going to meet up, we're going to have a meal of some description. It's buy your own meal, I'm afraid. So your meal can be as big or as small, so you can have a full course meal if you like, or just a bag of crisps. Entirely up to you. We're going to have a drink and a bit of a chinwag. Now, the weather doesn't look pretty good, unfortunately. It's going to be a bit dull and overcast. But the original plan was to have a meal and then go for a wander around the castle, Martin Snow said he was going to prepare some information to tell us about the castle, because he does a few of these sort of walking guided tours, which was very kind of him. So he's prepared some info. Depending on the weather and whether we, get up there or not, that would be great. We can have a little stroll around the moat, or just on the top, depending on people's mobility and stuff. And if it's cold and miserable, we won't hang about. We'll probably just stay in the pub and have another drink. We don't have to stay long. Stay as long as you like. It's just an excuse to sort of see each other, say, oh, hello, so-and-so, I've seen your name, I've heard your face pop up on the screen, and it's all rather good. So, that's the idea of that. Should be rather jolly. So don't forget to turn up then at midday. If you can't come, don't worry. We'll have some more meetups throughout the year in different parts of, certainly of Sussex, where a large portion of the fans are. And I appreciate there are people who are outside of Sussex in different places. And as we get more people in your location, we'll have a meetup there. So that'd be good. And a big thank you to Claire Leach, who's been organising that. Claire, the lovely Claire Leach, I should say, because I met her and she did swoon. She did swoon when we met. We had to, her husband and I, we had to sort of, wave our hankies over her and get her conscious mentis. And now she's had her nose cauterised. So poor old Claire's in a bit of a state at the moment. But that's all good. I said earlier that next week I'm going up to Cambridgeshire, and I am. I'm staying with my friend Simon Brown, who lives in St Neots. Now, he is a very long-term listener of the Vobes show that I used to do many years ago. No longer do that at the moment. But he has been looking at various places for the Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi and himself to go and do some walks and some explorations, including, ladies and gentlemen, including this formidable-looking place, which I have to say does look rather nice, the Wimpole Estate. Wimpole Estate. Look at that. There's all these people. They obviously are a bit frightened. They don't want to be there, so they're running away from it. But don't worry. I will go in there with the full protection of Simon Brown, and we will have a little gander around the grounds and have a little walk around. We're going to do that. Another place nearby, I believe, is the Wimpole Thrones. There's a walk. And I think this chair is not as small as you might think. I think it is a giant chair. I'm not quite sure, but it gives the impression that it is either that or it's a small chair that someone's just for some reason bunged in front of the camera. But anyway, there's some lovely countryside walks in that neck of the woods. And not least, there's the Wimpole Folly to go and investigate. And that looks rather interesting. I don't know if you can get inside and go up to the top of the tower, but if we can, I will endeavour to do the best that I can. Cambridgeshire, of course, is famous for its universities and its colleges. This is Corpus Christi, actually, new college in Cambridge. And if they need somebody to mow the lawn, I'm sure Simon Brown would be more than happy to do that, whilst I continue to have a little stroll around and look at the stuff. If we go early, hopefully we'll avoid all the students and stuff. Then another suggestion that he's got for me to go and investigate is this place, which is Buckton Great Tower and St Mary's Church. There's an interesting looking place. I don't know anything about it, but I aim to find out. And then, of course, there is the Bedford Castle, which, funnily enough, is not in Bedford. Or is it? Bedford Castle. Is that Cambridgeshire? Maybe it is in Bedford then. Yeah, maybe that is. It's quite close. Anyway, I don't know what the circle is on the ground, but I think it's a Motte and Bailey castle of some description. So that's all quite interesting. And I think that we may even go to Ely as well. Ely's very nice with the Ely Cathedral. What do they call it? The Cathedral in the Marsh or something. No, I can't remember what they call it now. It's got some special name. Perhaps if somebody remembers what it is, that will be good. Paul Couchman says, hello, Richard. Hello, Paul. Lovely to see you. Thank you for coming. We've got to organise some dates. I hope you've managed to sort out your drains. We need to sort out some dates and get on and do the food. I can't remember what we came up with a funny name for it, or at least a catchy name. Can't remember what we said now, but maybe you could remind me. But we definitely get on and do that. It'd be good. So Alan Piddington says, my Facebook site's 1940s UK events. So well, that's very handy. Thanks very much. Lovely fudge shop, says Claire Leach, in the centre of Cambridge, opposite the university. Well, I do like a bit of fudge. As you notice, I fudge facts and figures in my walks quite often, so we better go and visit that. I'll tell Simon to make a note of it. Mark Taylor says, Richard, I'm going to speak to a friend of mine who's a historian in Aylesbury and see if he would be interested in meeting up with you at some point. Well, that would be fantastic. I'd like to do Aylesbury. You posted some photos in the group recently, didn't you? And they look absolutely great. And I said, how about we go and do a walk round? But if you've got a historian chap, then that would be absolutely fantastic. Linda Kane is suggesting I go on to the Fens, which actually I would love to do that. Again, if one could find the people to take you round, it would make so much more sense. Drains are almost ready, says Paul Couchman, which is great. So as soon as you've cleared your drains, we'll be there and we'll do the... can you remember what we called it? It was a great idea, the name for the thing, but I can't remember now. Brain, I have a sieve for a brain. But hey-ho, there you go, riding on a donkey. So, now, where did I go today, ladies and gentlemen? Where did I go today? I did some filming, came back from Glastonbury, been straight out with the lovely Matthew Holdsworth, who can't make it today because I think he's doing choir practice or something. But don't let that worry you. Let me just have a look, see if I can find where I put... Here we are. This is the... So we made 3 films today, which will be coming up next week, starting here with... Now, this is a... I know it just looks like an ordinary tunnel to you, but this, apparently, is the first, and I believe it's the world's first road tunnel, certainly in England or in Britain, the first road tunnel. I can't remember when it was made. I think Matthew did tell me. But we had a walk through there. It was in Reigate, which is, I've never been to Reigate, so that was fascinating. We took a walk up to the castle. Now, this is not the castle. This is just a folly that was put up, but made with the local stone. Very pleasant. But we did take a go up onto the Motte and Bailey Castle, which was very nice, passing some very ancient-looking buildings. You can see there that that's a particularly ancient building with its lovely timber framing. Got a bit of brick infill at the moment, but probably initially filled with wattle and daub, no less, which was rather good. This is another bit more of the folly up on the top, close to where the castle would have stood at some point. And we got into the grounds, and there was this little pyramid which would take you down into the tunnels and caves, because below the castle were these caves where they'd been mining the, I can't remember now whether it's a special sandstone, that's right, but very fine sandstone that they made glass, which I also believe is how Glastonbury got its name, because of the glass industry that was in Glastonbury. But anyway, that's another story. So that was the first video that we did. The second video, ladies and gentlemen, the second video that we went to Priory Park in Reigate. Here's a quick map of the Priory Park. It won't mean much to you, I appreciate that, but we took a little stroll around there, past this imposing building here with its fountain and its lovely formal gardens and this, that and the other. And actually, look at that. That is now a primary school. A state primary school, ladies and gentlemen. I went to Forest Boys School in Horsham, which was a 1970s, probably a 1960s, if not 50s, horrible, boring design of comprehensive education school. Nothing as lovely and beautiful as that. And I said to Matthew as we walked past, I said, imagine if you're a toddler going there at 5 or 6 years of age, what the impression of going into a school like that must have on you in terms of understanding buildings and things. And I don't think people quite fully understand. Beautiful place. They've got an avenue of beech trees, which at the moment are only about 10 years old. They look absolutely resplendent, and they're going to look really, really good as they go a bit older. So we had a stroll down there to the what was originally the Priory Fish Pond. So anyway, that's in another video. Then we took a trip up onto the Pilgrim's Way, inspired by Mark English, who'd been there. We went to Reigate Fort, which was part of the defence against the French, but actually spoke to somebody there, and he said it wasn't so much a defence, it was more a store place for stuff. And here's a picture of some of the storage being carried out back in the 1890s, I think it was, so not that long ago. But you got some terrific views from the top, looking south there. Looking south, you can see from the top of Reigate Hill, you can see right down to Chantonbury Ring, close to where I live. Amazing, right across, some terrific views, which of course we captured in the video, which was very nice. Some of the buildings here at Shoreham Fort, not Shoreham Fort, what am I talking about? At where is it? Oh yeah, Reigate Hill, Reigate Fort. There we go. And we went across this bridge here, which is a footbridge across a busy main road that goes up Reigate Hill. Underneath there's traffic going along. But this bridge is the first. This is another first. This is the first concrete bridge, reinforced concrete bridge in England. And there it is. It spans across, not a huge distance, of course, but it is going across there. And I can't remember when it was actually built. There's the crest to have a look at. Never one-e, never shall. I don't know what that means. Never one-knee, never shall. Anyway, that's what it says on there. That's the crest on the bridge. But we had a look at that, and we had a lovely time, and it was great. So apparently Richard Suggett says there's a great cafe at Reigate Hill. And I think I got exposed to asbestos at my school, says Ted Desborough. Well, that's a possibility. So there we go. Anyway, so that's where I went today. So it's all good. Let me just check my little list here of things to talk about. Yes, that's it. Meetup on Saturday. Done that. 640 members. Reigate, Glastonbury, the group. Simon Brown, Cambridge. That's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's about it for today. I'm running solo today, missing the lovely Julia, of course. But we're going to have Dumpman to look forward to next week. And then towards the end of the week, whilst I'm in Cambridge, I'm hoping that Simon Brown, possibly Sharon Brown, his lovely wife, and I will be producing shows from Cambridge, live shows. So that will be also good to look forward to. So lots going on. Tomorrow is Friday, the Friday show. I'll be back again. No idea what I should be talking about. I was supposed to be filming tomorrow, but it's been cancelled because the weather is going to be so grim. And I'm pleased actually to have a day because I need to get on and do some editing, not least all the walks, but I do actually have a corporate job which I was a bit worried about catching up. So I've got that to do as well. So a bit of a sort of a day in getting out, having been out and about and all the rest of it. It'll be nice to catch up with the sleep and get on and do some editing and then prepare for the Friday show, and then it's the weekend. Ho ho, that will be good. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed today's show. It's been very nice. John Berger says via Wikipedia, the motto "Never one-e, knee, never shall" is taken from an ancient couplet and refers to the defeat of the Danes by King Alfred in the battle in the Vale of Holmesdale in the 9th century, now remembered in the name Battle Bridge. Reigate Castle has also been known as Holmesdale Castle. I don't know what it actually means, though, but there you go. Thanks, John. That's very kind of you. This is the great thing about this interactive business. You can tell me exactly what rubbish that I'm spouting out is in actual real facts, so that's good. There are no plans to make the Chiltern Hills into... Oh, there are plans, he says, to make the... This is Mark Taylor, says, to make the Chiltern Hills into a national park. And I suppose that's quite good. Andy Ash says, dumpster, yay, for the old dump man, which would be great to have him on, which would be marvellous. Mark Selwer says, you'll soon have 1,000 in the group, Richard. Well, that will be great. Let's see, where are we? Getting into May. Let's see if at the end of May we can get another 100 people in the group, which would be great. Adding Piddington says, don't forget the day job. Yes, I know, I've got to pay some bills. Really enjoyed the show. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Sometimes I feel I've just been, as the lovely Julia would say, I've been Mr. Flappy Mouth all day. Just non-stop diarrhea coming out the old gob. Don't listen to Mark. He doesn't know what he's talking about, says John Berger. Oh, right. They think they're going to have a bit of a punch-up now, which was rather jolly. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Andy Ash says, yeah, good to see you back. Thank you very much. It's nice to be back in the old environment, but I do want to get out and about and do some more stuff and get some more interviews. There's a ping noise. I don't know what that's for, but there we are. Great show, Richard. But, ladies and gentlemen, when you hear this music, it means I'm going to tuck myself up in my little bed because I am a little bit weary. So thank you so much for coming and joining me on The Bald Explorer Live. It's the place where the community gets together and has one great big community hug. So join me again tomorrow. Might be a bit more fun and fruity tomorrow. Today was sort of a bit of a catch-up day, so I hope that's okay. And thinking about the next mini adventure, once we've got the Glastonbury footage all on the screen and all that sort of done and everybody's happy, I'll be announcing what the next mini adventure. And if the lovely Julia's up for that, or somebody else wants to accompany me for a few days away, then we'll work out what it will be. But the next one is up at the great expense of Simon Brown in Cambridgeshire, and then who knows after that. So anyway, take care one and all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Don't forget you can catch up again on Facebook and on YouTube. Until the next time, thanks so much, and take care and be good. You can also support the Bald Explorer. I should just remind you, because I desperately need to get some cash in. Thebaldexplorer.com. Head to /support. Become a patron. You get the Naked Englishman, ladies and gentlemen. Which sounds a bit grim, but it's actually the behind-the-scenes podcast of my life. You get to hear what goes on behind the scenes and all the rest of it, what makes up the man. And for the price of a cup of coffee, you get 30 episodes of that a month. Plus, occasionally, bits and bobs like the recent podcast that we've shoved out with the Chalice Well and the Glastonbury podcast. But anyway, that's it. That's all we've got time for, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much. Don't forget to become a patron, which would be lovely. And in the meantime, thanks for watching. Until tomorrow, goodbye! Goodbye!